Welcome back everyone. For today's video, we're talking about how to play in close positions. How do we place our pieces correctly, identifying weaknesses, and generally how to process the information with this type of positions. Alright, let's start with this one. Let's start analyzing this position from White's perspective. So first we have a beautiful knight on b5, and this can never be kicked out. If c6 is ever played, you can just take this pawn, no problem. So the second thing we want to look at is these two pieces that are completely out of the game. You don't really have a way to activate this knight unless they reroute it, but that will take at least three moves to reroute it here. Then you cannot really play knight g3. I guess you can just take here, but you just take twice, so that would be a bad trade for black. Now, the second thing we're looking for, the main thing we want to look for is pawn structures. So it stands out to me these four squares, actually five, that are on the light squares. So all of these light squares are weak for black's from black's perspective. However, I don't really have a way to exploit anything here yet. So the second thing we look in terms of pawn structures is backward pawns. I cannot take this backward pawn, so the other one will be isolated pawns or even double pawns. We don't well, this is also a weakness, so this is a double pawn weakness and isolated pawn, right? So this is one of my weakness. Now how do you exploit it? It's simple. You just reroute this rook, and that is the winning idea. So it doesn't really matter. Let's say that black tries to reroute here. You're on time to win this pawn. So now my rook is hit. Yeah, you can just trade everything and you have a winning position for white. Let's analyze this position to see how we can make the most of a space advantage. So here, the first one of the principles with a space advantage is you want to play on that side where you have more space. Okay, so let's look at it from black's perspective. Here, the plans will be to go b5, a5 maybe. So the space advantage is on this side of the board, right? Where we don't have as many pawns. And here, it's also easy to identify when you look at this side of the board. You don't have a lot of pawns here, so you have this space to play around. You want to rewrite your pieces there as well. So here we can play a move such as queen f3. Queen f3, we're developing the queen and we're rewriting our pieces to this side of the board. Okay, so black is gonna have ideas to attack on the queen side. They can play something like b5. Okay, it's all good. Now you also want to be aware. You don't want to just, okay, I'm gonna push pawns for no reason. You want to prevent this move, b4, right? You want to prevent b4 by playing a3, and now the game continues. So black might want to strike back on the flank and then they play a5. It's not very accurate, but they start a pawn race. Okay, we can also do the same thing by playing g4. g4, now the idea is to go g5, kicking out this knight. Okay, so b4, we get b4, not very accurate. So here we can take the pawn, and if they take back, this rook is hanging. So yeah, they cannot do that. I guess the other option is to play a4, right? They advance the pawn. Is this okay as well? Now you can go with your ideas of g5. g5 kicks out this knight. A very important rule: when you have more space, you don't want to trade pieces. Here you don't want to trade. If they take, here you take and you're happy. But now here you have tactics. You have tactics, so you can play knight takes on c4. If they take, you take this rook. So let's say that you don't see, well, you have to have that tactical awareness, right? But let's say you don't see it, you don't see this tactic, and it will be fine if you play something like queen h5. because our ideas is to checkmate the king. So we have this bishop, and then we can also put our queen here. This also looks like a natural move to me. Queen h5. Okay, so our ideas are to hit this pawn by checkmating. So they have to strike back. One of the best moves in the position would be to strike back with f5. f5, you take en passant. You take en passant. You don't want to close the position on this side of the board, right? You want to keep it open. Now knight takes, hitting the queen, and then you just move your queen. So here the important lesson to be learned is how to use the space advantage, reroute your pieces. You have a better position here. The other principle I forgot to mention, I went back to this move. Okay, so we can do this. You want to restrict your opponent's pieces by using your space advantage. So I'm not gonna go through all the follow-up, but yeah, here you are using this space advantage wisely as you are rewriting your pieces, playing on that side of the board, and don't trade pieces unnecessarily. Another crucial aspect of close positions is when do I open up the position, right? If I just keep it close all the time, then when am I winning? Or maybe I can just go for a draw. But that's not acceptable sometimes if you have a better position. So the rule of thumb is you want to open up the position when you have a better placement of your pieces are better developed. Fortunately, we have a rook that is looking at the king, so the king is not super safe there. Our king doesn't look great, but it's not under any immediate attack. And then let's say that we move the king here, we can also reroute our rook, maybe g2, h2 will be great squares. This knight is looking beautiful, and yeah, our queen is not great either, but I guess we're also pointing at this diagonal. So okay, so far everything is good. Now you want to open up the position now. You don't want to waste another move. So feel free to pause the video and think, why or how would I break, not why, well, how would I break up the position and make the most of my slight advantage? So here you can take this pawn on h5. If bishop takes, then you can play h4, right? But wait, I'm just hanging my pawn. Yeah, you're hanging your pawn, but you're also delivering a check. Now the king has to move. The king has to move. Let's say they go here to h6, and now you can take this pawn, right? And now the position is completely falling apart for black. They cannot do that. They will have to go, okay, instead of taking this pawn, they will have to play bishop d3, and then you can go h4 anyway, opening up they cannot take again, right? They cannot take because you just deliver this check. Now the continuation, the best continuation will be to go to take the pawn, sorry, to take this knight, then you take back. And now this is going to lead to a draw. This is very drawish, but you still have a slight advantage just because your rooks are better positioned and black doesn't have any or many pawn breaks. They only have this kind of pawn break, right? This is only like a binary decision with this pawn, but on the other side it's completely close. Let's analyze this position, which is really close, right? We have a semi-close position with the pawn structures. First, from black's perspective, now the direction of our pawns is this way, and the most advanced pawn in the position is e5. So e5, the thing we want to do with black is put a pawn right next to it. So we want to play f5. Now with white, the most advanced pawn is d5. We want to put a pawn here on c5, trying to create a weakness on d6. So those are the plans. And we also apply the concept of a space advantage. We're playing on this side of the board. Same thing here for black, right? They're gonna play on this side of the board. So okay, we get b4, that is preparing for c5. Now black goes with that idea of f5, f3. We have to respond. We have to respond to this threat. So if they take, we can just open up this file, and it's going to be beneficial for us. F4, they want to shut down the position even more. So okay, we just retreat with the bishop, and we are doing perfectly fine. We continue with our plan. Okay, but before that is black to move. So G5. Okay, they strike in the center. Maybe they want to go something like H5, H4. It's okay. C5. Now they will have to take, otherwise they create a permanent weakness here. So they have to take, and we can either take with the bishop, which is the best move in the position, but it's equally good if you take with the pawn. Now you have these two connected pawns. They're really strong. So let's go for that line. And they will place, let's say they go with H5. Okay, creating this, trying to create weakness on the king side. You can now activate your pieces with knight c4. See, now the knight is going to be a very powerful piece in any position, but especially in close positions, whereas in this, for black, they don't have a lot of space. So white is benefiting for that extra space advantage, especially on the queen side. So this is where you want to play. We get knight g6, rook b1, attacking this pawn. Right, we are gonna attack it. So king h7, they don't have any moves. If we look at it from black's perspective, they don't have any moves. Maybe they can develop the knight, maybe challenging this pawn structure, but it's not easy to play. Now you have a lot of practical moves. You can just activate this knight and attack this pawn. So let's say they want to defend it, or they see this is no defend, so they play b6. Now you can get a beautiful outpost and see all of this piece activity with the knight. You can also bring your other knight later. The bishops can get in later. So this is just a beautiful position for white. And it was all about the analysis of the pawn structure from the beginning. You know what are the plans are for white and for black, right? You use the space advantage on this side of the board, and black is gonna try to do the same thing. Remember how in this position we can take this pawn, so if they take back, we take this rook. Tactical awareness is also necessary in close positions. So this might be a bit slow if it's like, okay, we're just maneuvering our pieces, rerouting them, pushing pawns, looking for pawn breaks, but they can also be exciting, like in this opportunity. So let's see more examples of this. For example, here, it looks really close. In first impression, it looks like nothing is happening, but you have tactics here. Feel free to pause the video and figure out a way to win material in this position. Okay, so the first thing we always look for the alignment of the pieces, right? So we have this bishop aligned with this other light square bishop. We can take this pawn. If they take, we get the bishop, and now we have a better position. Last but not least, you want to improve your pieces. So I love this example because here we have open files. The first thing we want to look for is open files. It will be the B and the H file. So here pretty much anything you move, it gives the advantage. So let's say that you want to go rook b5, not the best move, but then you have ideas of playing rook b1. It's completely fine. Then if you also want to place your bishop on b5, shutting down this diagonal, that is also correct. It doesn't lose either. Or even something very slow, like for example retreating your knight. That is a mistake, but it doesn't lose the advantage either. So I will look first what would be the worst piece in the position. One of the worst pieces is the queen, right? The queen is not doing much, so we can exploit that by playing queen h2. Queen h2, and now we're going to mount an attack on this side of the board. Queen h2, later, let's say the black moves, you have ideas of king h2, king g2, and rook h1. And yeah, this looks dangerous, right? And if the attack doesn't work there, you can always rewrite your pieces to the side of the board. So not allowing giving up the control of these two files. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Please comment, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.